Have you ever wondered if that old coin in your pocket or collection could be worth a fortune? Some rare coins have sold for millions of dollars, making them some of the most valuable collectibles in the world. In this video, we'll explore the most valuable coins and what makes them worth so much. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this. The first coin we'll be diving into is the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent with the large date and an error S mint mark in rusty condition. This coin is not just rare, it's also one of the most highly sought-after coins among collectors and enthusiasts. We'll look at the history behind it, its mintage numbers, the market value, and why it's so highly prized in today's auction scene. So, let's get started. The 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent is often considered one of the most iconic coins of the 20th century. To understand its value today, it's essential to look back at the historical context of its creation. During World War II, the U.S. Mint was facing a shortage of copper. With copper being needed for wartime production, especially for artillery shells, the government decided to mint coins out of steel instead. As a result, the 1943 Lincoln cent was produced using a zinc-coated steel planchet, making it look entirely different from its predecessors, which were made of copper. The 1943 steel cents were originally produced to save copper for the war effort, but they also ended up creating a significant amount of confusion among the public. These coins had a distinctive look, shiny and silvery in appearance, and because of this, many were initially mistaken for foreign coins. The change from copper to steel was a sharp contrast, and it garnered a lot of attention both at the time and for decades afterward. The large date variety of the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent is significant in itself because it was part of a design change. The large date is often more noticeable than the small date, which was used for the majority of the 1943 steel cents. The large date variety is less common, and this is why it has always been a favorite among collectors. Its rarity, in addition to its historical importance, makes it a coin that is valued highly on the market. However, what truly sets this particular coin apart is the error mint mark, the S mint mark. You see, most 1943 steel cents were produced in Philadelphia, marked with no mint mark or a D mint mark, indicating production at the Denver Mint. But there are rare examples where a steel cent was struck with the S mint mark, which stands for the San Francisco Mint. This error is incredibly rare, and only a handful of these coins were ever produced. What makes the error particularly interesting is the fact that the San Francisco Mint did not produce any 1943 steel cents as a part of the regular production. This means that the existence of the S mint mark on a 1943 steel cent is entirely a mistake, one that has intrigued collectors and numismatists for decades. The presence of an S mint mark is what gives this coin its error status, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for it. Given the rarity of the coin and the error involved, it can command prices in excess of $300,000 in today's auction market. Its rusty condition only adds to the mystery and charm, as it tells a story of time spent in circulation and exposure to the elements. Despite the wear, this coin's inherent rarity and historical significance make it one of the highest value coins in the world today. The Washington Quarter Dollar. 1966 without a mint mark, featuring lamination damage, is truly a treasure that captivates collectors, investors, and numismatists alike. To truly appreciate the value of this coin in today's auction market, we first need to explore its historical context, how it was produced, and why it's worth so much more than face value. The Washington Quarter Dollar was first introduced in 1932, marking the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Since then, it has undergone several changes in its design, but the essential features have remained consistent. The obverse side of the coin prominently displays a left-facing portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse side has evolved over the years, but for the 1966 coin, it features an eagle in flight, clutching an olive branch. The 1966 Washington Quarter Dollar was part of the ongoing coinage program under the administration of President Lyndon B. Johnson and is one of the many coins struck during his presidency. What makes the 1966 Washington Quarter Dollar so extraordinary is not just its design or historical context, but the rarity of the coin when it's in a condition with lamination damage. Lamination damage occurs during the minting process, when the layers of metal that are struck together do not bond properly. This leads to peeling, cracking, or bubbling on the coin's surface, a mistake that is both fascinating and valuable in the numismatic world. In the case of the 1966 Washington quarter dollar, the lamination error on this particular coin adds a layer of intrigue that makes it an even more compelling piece for collectors. In terms of market value, a Washington quarter dollar from 1966 in a condition with lamination damage can easily command a price upwards of $300,000, especially when it's authenticated and certified by a reputable grading company like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation or Professional Coin Grading Service. The rarity of this coin with such a flaw means that it's not just another Washington quarter dollar, it's a unique, one-of-a-kind find that numismatists would covet. Now, let's talk about the mintage numbers for this coin. The 1966 Washington quarter dollar was struck in large numbers, with approximately 1.7 billion quarters produced that year across various mint locations. The absence of a mint mark on this particular coin means that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which adds to its significance. However, while the 1966 coin was made in such vast quantities, the number of coins that have survived with lamination damage is extremely low, making this coin exceedingly rare. For collectors, the attraction to this coin lies in its imperfection. Collectors of error coins are often drawn to these types of flaws, as they provide a glimpse into the imperfect nature of the minting process. Lamination errors are relatively uncommon, and when they do occur, they tend to be highly sought after. This particular Washington quarter dollar is a perfect example of how a flaw in the production process can add significant value to a coin, turning what would normally be considered a damaged coin into a highly prized collector's item. Collectors also find interest in the rarity of the Washington quarter dollar series as a whole. Over the years, various Washington quarters have been released, and each year's issue carries a different level of significance. While many of the later Washington quarters are considered relatively common, coins from the 1960s, especially those with errors like lamination damage, are much rarer. This makes the 1966 coin not only valuable on its own, but also a valuable addition to any collector's portfolio. In addition to the lamination damage, the 1966 Washington quarter dollar has a place in history because of the economic and political climate of the time. The mid-1960s were a period of significant change in the United States, with the country in the midst of the civil rights movement and a booming economy. As the country shifted politically and socially, so too did the design and minting of its coinage. Coins like the 1966 Washington quarter dollar reflect this transitional moment in American history, making them even more desirable for collectors who appreciate the historical context behind their investments. In conclusion, the 1966 Washington quarter dollar without a mint mark, featuring lamination damage, is a stunning example of how even a flaw in a coin's design can lead to enormous value. Its historical significance, rarity due to the minting error, and the strong collector interest make it a true gem in the world of numismatics. In today's auction market, this coin could... Now, let's move on to the second coin in our video, the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent, with a large date and a D mint mark in dirty condition. This coin, although slightly different from the first, holds its own unique place in the world of numismatics and holds significant value in the auction market. The 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent with the D mint mark is part of the same series as the previous coin, created during the Second World War when copper was redirected for wartime efforts. As mentioned before, these steel pennies were a temporary solution to the copper shortage, and the U.S. Mint struck over 1 billion of these coins in 1943. The 1943 D Lincoln Steel Wheat cent was produced at the Denver Mint, and while it is not as rare as some of the error varieties, it still holds significant value in the collector community due to its historical context and production numbers. The design of the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat cent features the image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, Lincoln is shown in profile, facing left, with the inscription, "In God We Trust," above his image. The reverse features 2 wheat stalks encircling the words 1 cent, along with United States of America and the mint mark, which in this case is D for the Denver Mint. The mintage of the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat cent with the D mint mark was substantial. Over 430 million of these coins were produced at the Denver Mint, making it one of the most common varieties of the 1943 steel cents. While it's not as rare as the 1943 S error coin or the 1943 copper cent, which is one of the most famous coin errors in U.S. history, it still has significant value due to its historical relevance and the unique production process. One of the things that sets this coin apart in terms of its market value is its condition. While the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat cent with the D mint mark is generally available, those in clean, high-grade condition can command higher prices. The dirty condition of this coin, however, adds a layer of rarity as it's not in pristine form. Coins in dirty or worn condition often sell for less than their cleaner counterparts, but they still retain historical and collector interest because of their age and the fact that they were part of a very unique production year. Despite its dirty condition, this coin has a notable market value. Depending on the specific condition of the coin and the degree of wear, it can still sell for tens of thousands of dollars, with some coins reaching over $100,000 in auctions. The value can vary widely, especially with factors such as the specific wear patterns, the level of detail remaining in the design, and the overall appeal to collectors. Coins in poor condition are often favored by collectors who specialize in error coins or historical pieces, making even a coin in dirty condition a valuable find. Both of these 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat cents, one with an error mint mark and the other with a more standard mint mark, are truly fascinating pieces of American coinage. They're symbols of a particular moment in history when the United States was at war and copper was needed for far more important matters than currency. The steel pennies of 1943 represent both the ingenuity and the necessity of wartime production, and their continued appeal in the collector's market proves how history can be captured in something as simple as a coin. The second coin we're discussing today is the 1970 Washington quarter dollar, which features a large date with a D mint mark error and lamination damage on the reverse side. Like the 1966 quarter, this coin represents an error in the minting process, but it carries its own unique story and value. To fully appreciate its significance, let's explore its background, design, mintage, and why it is so sought after by collectors today. The 1970 Washington quarter dollar is part of a broader series of coins issued as part of the United States Mint's regular coinage production. Like its predecessors, the coin features the iconic portrait of George Washington on the obverse, but it is the reverse design that is especially interesting in this case. The reverse side of the 1970 Washington quarter dollar depicts a flying eagle, clutching an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other. This design, which has been featured on Washington quarters for many years, symbolizes peace and strength, and it remains one of the most recognizable designs in U.S. coinage history. The distinguishing feature of the 1970 Washington quarter dollar is the large date, which was part of the minting process for that particular year. In fact, 1970 is a notable year for Washington quarters because of the difference in the size of the date, which was altered slightly for this issue. However, the real value of this coin comes from the D mint mark error and the lamination damage found on the reverse side. Mint errors, particularly those that involve mint marks, are highly sought after by collectors. The D mint mark is typically used to denote coins struck at the Denver Mint, but the error on this coin means that the mint mark was either applied incorrectly or was affected by the lamination issue. Lamination damage, like that seen on the reverse side of this coin, occurs when the layers of metal are not properly bonded during the minting process. As a result, the reverse of the coin may show peeling, cracking, or other forms of surface damage. Despite these imperfections, this coin is highly valuable due to its rarity. The mintage for the 1970 Washington quarter dollar was significant, with hundreds of millions of these coins being produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. However, only a small percentage of these coins experienced the kind of error that this particular piece did. As a result, the market value for a 1970 Washington quarter dollar with a D mint mark error and lamination damage is exceptionally high, with auction prices for such coins reaching upwards of $500,000. The 1970 Washington quarter dollar's value in today's auction market is largely driven by its unique features and rarity. While the coin was produced in relatively high numbers, the number of surviving examples with such errors is exceedingly rare. For collectors, this coin offers a rare opportunity to own a piece of U.S. numismatic history, with its error providing a glimpse into the manufacturing process and its connection to the political and social context of the 1970s. In addition to the mint error and lamination damage, the historical significance of the 1970 Washington quarter dollar further adds to its appeal. The 1970s were a transformative period in American history, with significant political events, cultural shifts, and economic changes. As the country grappled with challenges such as the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal, coins like the 1970 Washington quarter dollar reflect the changing landscape of the United States. In conclusion, the 1970 Washington quarter dollar, with a large date, D-mint mark error, and lamination damage, is a rare and highly valuable coin. Its unique features, including the error in the mint mark and the lamination flaw, make it a must-have for collectors and investors alike. In today's auction market, this coin could easily fetch a price of $500,000 or more, depending on its condition and certification. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln Steel, wheat 1 cent, is one of the most iconic and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. This coin was produced during a pivotal time in U.S. history, World War II. As copper became scarce due to wartime production, the U.S. Mint shifted to using steel to make pennies in 1943. The switch from copper to steel marked a significant moment in the nation's wartime economy. But it also led to a number of fascinating errors and anomalies that collectors treasure today. The historical context of the 1943 steel penny is as fascinating as its design. In 1943, the United States was deeply involved in World War II, and copper was urgently needed for ammunition and other wartime materials. The U.S. government decided to switch the composition of the penny to a steel-based metal coated with zinc. The intention was to preserve the copper supply for military needs. This decision resulted in the striking of over 1 billion steel pennies, all featuring the traditional design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat ears motif on the reverse. While most of the 1943 steel pennies were produced as expected, a small number of them were minted with significant errors, such as the rare 1943 copper penny. These copper pennies are the real treasures among collectors, fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars at auctions. However, even a regular 1943 steel penny, especially in pristine condition, can command a high price in the auction market. Now, let's talk about the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat 1 cent coin in dirty condition. While its aesthetic appearance may not be perfect, this coin still holds substantial value due to its historical importance and rarity. Even a coin in less than ideal condition can fetch impressive amounts. When we say dirty condition, we're referring to a coin that has significant wear, tarnishing, or residue from years of handling. This type of wear doesn't diminish the coin's historical importance or inherent value. Rather, it adds character and reminds collectors of its long journey through history. In today's auction market, a 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat penny in dirty condition can still bring in a substantial amount. While the value of a coin is highly dependent on its condition, collectors are often willing to pay a premium for a piece of history, especially when it is as rare and significant as this one. Coins in dirty condition might range in value from $30,000 to $50,000, but in some rare cases, depending on the specific wear and provenance, the price can escalate well beyond that. These coins remain highly sought after due to their historical significance and the fascinating wartime story behind them. Mintage plays a significant role in the value of the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat penny. The U.S. Mint produced over 1 billion steel pennies in 1943, but this vast mintage doesn't dilute the rarity of high-grade examples. In fact, the majority of these coins were circulated extensively and are in poor condition, making high-grade examples incredibly rare and valuable. Moreover, the presence of errors or distinctive features, such as those found in certain misstruck coins, further increases the appeal of this particular coin. Collectors are deeply interested in the 1943 Lincoln Steel penny not just because of its rarity, but because of the sheer historical significance of the coin. This coin tells a story of wartime ingenuity, scarcity, and the resourcefulness of the American government during one of the most turbulent times in history. As a result, the market for these coins remains incredibly strong, and demand continues to outpace supply. Next up, we have the United States Silver Washington Quarter Dollar, 1982. Large date with a D mint mark error, a coin that has generated quite the buzz among collectors. The 1982 Washington Quarter is significant, not only because of its historical context, but also because of the error that makes it stand out from the millions of other quarters minted that year. Before we explore the specific error and the coin's enormous value today, let's start with a bit of historical context. In 1982, the United States Mint produced a significant number of Washington quarters, but it wasn't until years later that collectors started to realize there were some quirks in the mintage. One of the most notable errors was the inclusion of the large date with a D mint mark, which became a critical point of interest for numismatists. This particular version, with a D mint mark on the obverse side, quickly became a sought-after coin due to its unexpected and rare characteristic. Now, let's talk about the mintage numbers. In 1982, the United States Mint produced well over 500 million Washington quarters across several mints, but only a select few of these coins carried the large date with the D mint mark. It's estimated that fewer than 1,000 of these error coins ever made it into circulation. This makes them exceptionally rare and highly valuable today. However, the true rarity of this coin comes into play when you consider its condition. A typical circulated coin will likely fetch a significant price, but coins in mint or near mint condition can see a price increase of more than 50%, sometimes reaching the 300,000 plus mark at a prestigious auction. So why is the 1982 Silver Washington Quarter with the D mint mark error so valuable? The answer lies in its unique combination of characteristics. First, there is the error itself. The D mint mark was improperly placed on some of the coins, deviating from the standard minting process. This small mistake creates an extraordinary level of interest from collectors who appreciate the rarity and imperfection. Second, the design of the Washington Quarter itself is significant. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse of the coin features a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. On the reverse, the coin displays an eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing the strength and unity of the nation. These timeless design elements have made the Washington Quarter one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The error on this 1982 coin is not just a simple flaw, it's a monumental mistake that adds to the coin's value. To understand why errors are so important in coin collecting, you need to think about rarity and scarcity. Errors occur in very limited numbers, making them a rare find for collectors. With a piece of American history like this one, coupled with the error, the value soars. Collectors know that finding an error coin like this is like stumbling upon a rare gem, which is why the auction value for this coin can exceed expectations, sometimes reaching as high as $300,000. Collectors show great interest in this coin, not just because of the error, but because of its historical and cultural significance. The 1982 Washington Quarter was released during the early 1980s, a time when the nation was going through significant economic changes, such as rising inflation and the dawn of new policies. This quarter symbolized American perseverance during challenging times, and its status as a silver coin only added to its appeal. For numismatists, owning such a rare coin represents more than just monetary value. It's about owning a piece of history that connects them to the legacy of the United States. Now, let's talk about the design features of this coin. As mentioned earlier, the obverse features a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. His likeness is revered, and it is one of the most iconic representations of a U.S. president in the numismatic world. Flanagan's design captures Washington's dignified presence, showcasing his strength and leadership. On the reverse side, you'll find an eagle, representing freedom and the power of the United States. The eagle is perched on a bundle of arrows, reinforcing the theme of unity and national strength. This is a timeless design that has remained consistent through decades of quarter mintings. The error, however, makes this coin all the more special. In numismatics, collectors are often on the lookout for errors like off-center strikes, misprints, or other irregularities that make a coin one of a kind. The D-mint mark error adds to the intrigue of this coin, as it was a mistake that was never meant to happen. Coins like this don't come around often, which is why collectors eagerly pursue them at auctions and private sales. Now let's move on to our second coin, the 1940 Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent, with a large date and without a mint mark, but with significant damage to the coin. This coin is unique due to the deep cut around the edges of the coin, along with heavy rust damage. Despite its condition, it's still considered a valuable piece in the collector's market due to its historical importance and the rarity of finding such damaged coins. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny was minted as part of a long-standing tradition of pennies bearing the image of Abraham Lincoln. The design of the Lincoln Wheat penny, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has become one of the most recognizable coin designs in the history of American currency. The 1940 coin is part of the larger series of Lincoln pennies, which were first introduced in 1909. The design featured the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse, symbolizing the agricultural foundation of the United States. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny, specifically the large date version without a mint mark, was produced in high numbers. The mintage for this coin was well over 1 billion, meaning that finding one in uncirculated condition is relatively rare. However, a coin in damaged or rusted condition, like the one we're examining today, is far less common. It's essential to understand that while this coin has significant wear and damage, it is still considered valuable because of its rarity and historical context. The damage to the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny in question, specifically the deep cuts around the coin's edge, significantly reduces its aesthetic appeal, but it doesn't completely destroy its value. In fact, coins with substantial damage can sometimes carry a certain mystique among collectors, especially when the damage is unusual or rare. The deep-cut marks on this coin might suggest that it was struck with a damaged die or was mishandled in some way during its production or circulation. Regardless of the cause of the damage, the coin remains valuable due to its rarity and historical significance. The rust damage on this coin further complicates its condition. Rusting is a natural process that occurs when a metal is exposed to moisture and oxygen over time. In the case of this penny, it appears to have been subjected to harsh environmental conditions that cause significant corrosion. Rusted coins, especially those that have been circulated for decades, are not uncommon. However, when you find a coin that is both rare and heavily damaged, it can make for an interesting addition to a collection, especially for those focused on the history of damaged coins. In terms of market value, a heavily damaged coin like the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny with deep cuts and rust can still command a high price at auction. Even in its damaged state, the coin is an important part of American numismatic history. In fact, the rarity of such damaged pieces often increases their desirability, especially among collectors who specialize in coins with unusual features. The value of this coin in today's market could range anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000, depending on the specifics of the damage and any additional factors such as provenance or unique features. The interest in damaged coins has been on the rise in recent years as collectors seek to acquire pieces that are not only valuable but also tell a unique story. A coin like the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny, with its deep cuts and rust damage, speaks to a particular moment in history when the coin was mishandled or subjected to harsh conditions. It's a tangible reminder of how these coins were used and circulated by everyday people. The appeal of such coins also lies in the collector's fascination with error or damaged coins, which are often seen as rarities that offer a glimpse into the production process. While collectors typically strive for pristine examples, damaged coins hold a different kind of appeal, one rooted in the unusual and the rare. For collectors, the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny with deep cuts and rust damage is a piece that tells a different kind of story, one of wear, misuse, and survival through the ages. In conclusion, the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny with deep cuts and rust damage offer collectors a rare opportunity to own pieces of American history. Despite their less than perfect condition, these coins command impressive values in the market due to their rarity, historical significance, and unique characteristics. The market for these coins continues to grow, and with demand continuing to rise, their value is likely to increase in the future. Now let's talk about the second coin that we're featuring today. The United States Silver Washington Quarter Dollar 1969 large date without mint mark in fine condition. This coin, while not as well known as the 1982 D mint mark error, still holds tremendous value in the world of coin collecting. The 1969 Washington Quarter is a prime example of a coin with historical significance, a beautiful design, and a relatively rare error that collectors actively seek out. Let's dive into the history of the 1969 Washington Quarter. In the late 1960s, the United States was experiencing a period of transition in both its economy and its coinage. The country had just finished the tumultuous 1960s, a decade marked by social and political upheaval. The Washington Quarter, a coin that had been in circulation since 1932, continued to be one of the most iconic and enduring designs in American numismatics. However, the 1969 issue is particularly noteworthy because of the large date and the lack of a mint mark, which makes it stand out among the other Washington quarters minted that year. The large date error is perhaps the most significant feature of this coin. The design of the Washington Quarter was altered in 1969 to feature a larger date, which was meant to make it easier for the mint to strike. However, some quarters were minted without a mint mark at all, which created confusion among collectors. Typically, Washington quarters produced at the Philadelphia Mint were supposed to have no mint mark, but the lack of a mint mark on the 1969 coin led many to believe it was part of a special set or series. This added to the intrigue and collectability of the coin. When it comes to mintage, the 1969 Washington Quarter saw a relatively high production number. However, only a small percentage of those quarters were struck with the large date and lacked the mint mark. This makes the 1969 quarter with a large date and no mint mark a rare find among collectors, which contributes to its significant value in the market. Collectors are particularly drawn to the 1969 Washington Quarter because of its unique design features. As mentioned earlier, the large date makes the coin stand out, but it's the absence of the mint mark that truly makes it a valuable collector's item. The design of the coin, which features the iconic portrait of George Washington and the eagle on the reverse, remains one of the most revered in American coinage history. Its timeless appeal and connection to the legacy of Washington continue to make it an attractive choice for collectors. In terms of market value, the 1969 Washington Quarter with the large date and no mint mark can fetch a substantial price at auction, especially in fine condition. Depending on its quality and demand, this coin has been known to reach values of up to $300,000 plus at some of the most prestigious auctions. Its rarity, combined with its historical significance and desirable design, makes it a highly sought-after coin in the world of numismatics. Collectors continue to show great interest in the 1969 Washington Quarter, as its value has steadily increased over the years. The rarity of the error, along with its connection to American history and the legacy of George Washington, makes it a prized possession for many. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the world of coins, this is one piece of American history that you won't want to miss out on. Next up, let's begin with one of the most valuable coins in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, the 1955 Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1-cent coin. This coin is renowned among collectors, not just because of its vintage status, but also due to the remarkable history behind its release and its extremely high value in today's market. The 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck as part of the regular series of pennies produced by the U.S. Mint between 1909 and 1958. The coin features the iconic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side, the coin depicts two wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent, a design that was used for nearly 50 years. But what makes the 1955 coin so special? The answer lies in its error, a unique feature that has propelled its value to staggering heights in today's market. The 1955 coin is often referred to as the 1955 double-die obverse penny. This error occurred due to a mistake during the minting process. Essentially, the coin was struck twice, creating a doubling effect on the date and the lettering. The most noticeable feature of this error is the doubled 5 in the date, which is clearly visible under magnification. It's important to note that this error was not intentional, and such mistakes are relatively rare in coin production. However, the doubling effect on the 1955 penny is one of the most famous and highly prized errors in the history of U.S. coinage. In fact, this particular error has given the coin its status as one of the most valuable pennies in circulation today. Now, let's talk about the market value. While the condition of the coin heavily influences its price, even a 1955 large-date penny in circulated condition can fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. A coin that is in extremely fine condition can reach even higher prices, especially when it is verified by top coin certification services such as the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation or Professional Coin Grading Service. For example, a well-preserved 1955 double-die obverse penny can reach values exceeding $300,000 in some cases. In 2021, a coin in near-mint condition sold at auction for an astounding $350,000, a testament to the rarity and high demand for this historical error coin. Collectors are especially drawn to the 1955 double-die obverse because of its famous minting mistake and its representation of one of the most iconic U.S. coins, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. The historical significance of the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny adds to its allure. The 1950s were a time of great change in the United States, marked by post-War II prosperity and the rise of the baby boomer generation. Coins from this era often hold a certain nostalgic value for collectors who remember seeing these coins in circulation during their youth. As the decades have passed, the 1955 double-die penny has become more and more scarce, making it all the more valuable to numismatists and investors alike. Additionally, the appeal of this coin is bolstered by the enduring popularity of Abraham Lincoln as an American icon. Lincoln is one of the most admired presidents in U.S. history, and the Lincoln Wheat Penny remains one of the most widely collected coins in the world. This blend of historical significance, error rarity, and popularity continues to drive up demand for the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny. As for the design features, the obverse of the 1955 penny is classic and timeless. The bust of Abraham Lincoln is depicted in profile, facing left, with the inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" above and below his portrait. The reverse features two stalks of wheat, with the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum encircling the coin. The overall design remains one of the most beloved in U.S. coinage history. The 1955 double-die obverse penny remains a standout piece in any collection. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just starting to explore the world of rare coins, this is a coin that commands attention. Its market value, driven by the rarity of the error and the continued collector interest, ensures that it remains one of the most valuable pennies in the world today. Next up, we have the most valuable United States silver Washington quarter dollar from 1980, featuring a remarkable P/D mint mark error. This coin has become one of the most coveted items in the numismatic world, and its value in today's auction market is nothing short of astounding, with examples fetching prices upwards of $300,000, depending on condition. Let's take a closer look at this coin's detailed history, the circumstances behind its minting, and why collectors are so eager to get their hands on one. The Washington quarter dollar series was first issued in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the years, the design evolved, but it always maintained the iconic image of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. In 1980, the coin saw a major turning point due to the discovery of a rare minting error, which immediately captured the attention of numismatists. During the 1980 coin minting process, an error occurred in the production of certain quarter dollars. A small batch of these coins was struck with a P mint mark, indicating they were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, over a previously struck D mint mark from the Denver Mint. This type of minting error is called a P/D error, and it makes these coins exceptionally rare. The error happened when a die from the Denver Mint, which was meant for the Denver minting process, was accidentally overlaid with a Philadelphia die, causing the P mint mark to be struck over the D. The rarity of the 1980 P/D Washington quarter dollar lies not only in the fact that only a limited number of these coins were ever produced with this error, but also in the striking details that remain visible. The mint mark of a coin is typically one of the most critical factors in determining its value, and in this case, the combination of both mint marks on a single coin is a unique feature. As a result, collectors are drawn to this coin as a must-have item for their collections, knowing that it is incredibly scarce and holds immense historical value. When it comes to the market value of these coins today, collectors are willing to pay a premium for well-preserved examples. Depending on the condition, a 1980 Washington quarter dollar with a P over D error mint mark can fetch anywhere from $30,000 for coins in decent circulated condition to upwards of $300,000 for coins that are in pristine or near mint condition. The rarity of this error, combined with the historical significance of the Washington quarter dollar, makes this coin a true gem in the numismatic world. Collectors are particularly attracted to this coin for its historical importance as well as its rarity. While many quarters from the 1980s were struck and circulated without any notable issues, the P over D error represents an anomaly in the minting process that gives the coin a unique backstory. For collectors who appreciate the artistry and craftsmanship involved in coin production, this coin's distinctive characteristics and limited mintage make it a true treasure. Furthermore, the fact that this coin was produced during a time when interest in coin collecting was beginning to rise again adds another layer of excitement for collectors. Moreover, the design features of the Washington quarter dollar have always been admired. The obverse features a classic portrait of George Washington, facing left with the words, "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the year of issue inscribed around the edge. On the reverse, the eagle design was replaced in 1932 with a more stylized version of the eagle, perched on a branch, representing the country's strength and resilience. The 1980 Washington quarter dollar continues to honor Washington's legacy while showcasing the impressive engraving and minting techniques of the time. Next up, we have another iconic coin in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat 1-cent coin. While the 1955 double-die obverse penny is famous for its error, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands out for its historical significance and rarity in today's market. This coin, like many others in the early years of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, carries with it a rich story that goes far beyond its mintage. The 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck during a time of immense global change. The world was in the midst of World War I, and the U.S. was heavily involved in the conflict. The coin was produced by the U.S. Mint as part of a broader effort to fund the war and maintain the nation's economy. Abraham Lincoln, already a symbol of freedom and unity, was chosen to appear on the obverse of the coin. His profile was engraved by the renowned artist Victor David Brenner, marking the start of a design that would last for decades. Unlike the 1955 penny, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny is not an error coin, but it remains highly coveted for other reasons. Its age, its association with a pivotal moment in history, and its relatively low mintage compared to other years make it an attractive piece for collectors. The coin is also notable for being part of the early years of the Lincoln series, and its scarcity in certain conditions only adds to its value. In terms of market value, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark in circulated condition can still fetch a significant price at auction, although it may not reach the astronomical figures of the 1955 double-die penny. However, coins in high grades, particularly those that have been professionally graded as very fine or extremely fine, can still see values reach over $20,000 to $40,000 in today's market. In some cases, such coins have sold for as much as $50,000, depending on their condition and provenance. What makes the 1918 penny even more desirable is its role as a key date in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. Collectors often seek out coins from this period because they represent a link to the early 20th century and the legacy of Abraham Lincoln. Additionally, coins from this era are becoming increasingly rare as many were lost or melted down over time. While the 1918 penny does not have the dramatic error that boosts the 1955 version's value, its place in history and its relatively low mintage give it substantial collector interest. During World War I, the U.S. Mint was facing challenges in production, and fewer coins were struck in certain years. The 1918 penny, with its understated beauty and historical relevance, is a perfect example of how a seemingly simple coin can hold immense value decades after its initial release. The design of the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny remains largely unchanged from the earlier years of the series. On the obverse, we see a detailed portrait of Abraham Lincoln, surrounded by the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse of the coin features two stalks of wheat, symbolizing America's agrarian roots, with the inscription "United States of America" above and "E pluribus unum" below. The coin's design is elegant and reflective of the nation's values at the time. Overall, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny is a highly sought-after coin for its historical context, scarcity, and connection to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln. Its market value continues to grow as collectors recognize its place in American numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the hobby, the 1918 penny represents an important milestone in the world of rare U.S. coins. And that concludes our deep dive into all of the most valuable Abraham Lincoln wheat 1-cent coins. These coins, each with its own fascinating history and unique features, showcase the enduring appeal of U.S. coinage and the ever-growing value of rare and historically significant coins. Whether you're looking to start your own collection or simply want to learn more about these iconic pieces of American history, these two pennies are sure to leave a lasting impression. Now, let's move on to the second coin of the day. The most valuable United States silver Washington quarter dollar from 1984. This coin, featuring a large date with the D mint mark, is another highly valuable and sought-after item among collectors. The 1984 Washington quarter dollar, unlike the 1980p over D error, has gained attention due to its unique design features, market value, and historical relevance. The Washington quarter dollar was first introduced in 1932, and the 1984 issue was part of the ongoing series that paid tribute to George Washington's legacy. The coin features the same well-known obverse portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the reverse side showing an eagle perched on a branch. However, the 1984 coin became especially notable due to its minting process and the large date that was used on some of the quarters produced that year. The large date design of the 1984 quarter was part of a wider effort by the United States Mint to produce coins that were both easily readable and highly durable. The large date was used as part of a series of test strikes to evaluate different fonts and sizes for coin design, and while it didn't become the standard for the Washington Quarter series, the 1984 large date coins remain incredibly rare and highly valued by collectors. The value of the 1984 Washington quarter dollar in today's auction market has seen a steady rise, with coins in fine condition fetching impressive prices. While these coins do not feature a minting error like the 1980p over D Washington quarter, their value is driven by their rarity, unique design features, and collector interest. Coins with the D mint mark, in particular, have been in high demand, as they were part of a limited mintage that was largely circulated and used in everyday transactions. As a result, examples in fine condition are highly sought after, with values reaching up to $75,000 for particularly well-preserved coins. The large date variety of the 1984 quarter is considered by many to be one of the most beautiful designs in the entire Washington Quarter series. The large, bold date stands out prominently on the obverse, and the clarity of the numbers adds to the overall appeal of the coin. Collectors appreciate this design not only for its aesthetic qualities but also for its historical significance in the context of coin production. It serves as a reminder of the United States Mint's ongoing efforts to refine and improve the production process while maintaining the high standards of craftsmanship that collectors have come to expect. The historical significance of the 1984 Washington quarter dollar extends beyond its minting design. It was produced during a period of economic uncertainty following the early 1980s recession. As such, the coin carries with it a connection to a pivotal moment in American history when the country was working to recover and rebuild. This connection to the broader historical narrative only adds to the value of the 1984 quarter, as it allows collectors to reflect on a significant period in both economic and numismatic terms. Have you ever found a valuable Washington quarter dollars in your collection? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting!